Okay, did that. Now we do live stream to Facebook. Oops, get that out of there. Okay, we do it to the group.
Does anyone know what lesson it is today? Will you
11.
say,
1 through 7.
okay, will you actually say which lesson is for the day as you do the introduction? Just so.
I will say, yes, it's the 11th of January, and so it's lesson 11, but today we're talking about lessons 1 through 7.
Okay.
All right, I'm starting the Facebook live stream. If any of you have Facebook up, you might want to close we might want to check it. Johanna, you might want to check it if you have it up, but then you'll have to close it because it'll distract.
I don't have it up.
Okay, I think we're fine.
Yeah.
Cool. Here we go.
Is today. Will you
1 through 7.
Okay. Will you
I don't have it up.
Okay, I think we're fine. All right, I believe we are live streaming. Should put some music on.
And we might want to wait 1 or 2 minutes before beginning to make sure that everybody who wants to be on is actually on.
I think that's a good idea. Next time we'll add some music. Share one more time. Thank you to everyone for joining. It's 11 a.m. We're going to wait maybe 2 or 3 more minutes for a few more people to trickle in, and then we will get started. All right, one more minute and we'll get started.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you for coming. On behalf of the Foundation for Inner Peace, I would like to say welcome. Good morning to those on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those on the East Coast. Good evening to those in Europe, and good evening to all those from still further east. Today is the first session of a new series on live Zoom and live Facebook called A Course in Miracles Workbook Discussions. Today, we're going to be discussing lessons 1 through 7. But before we start, I would like to let you know that Tam Morgan is here with us today to kick off our first session. Tam is the co-president of the Foundation for Inner Peace. She is a course student and the daughter of the Foundation's co-founder, Judith Scotch Whitson. Welcome, Tam.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an unexpected pleasure to be here today. And I say unexpected because I don't really expect anything anymore except for perhaps miracles. There's been a lot of changes in everyone's life with COVID and everything else. And the world seems upside down in so many ways. And that people are gathering together to do this discussion study group on the Course in Miracles workbook is, it's fantastic. And I didn't even really know about it till the other day and asked to do this. And I'm excited that it's going on and I love to be a part of it. So we didn't decide what I was going to be talking about unexpected, but I was told to either talk 5 minutes or an hour, and I'm truly turning it over to Spirit as to what should be said right now. And in that, I feel first, let's say welcome. Welcome to choosing to do the workbook practice of this course. This course is very clearly an applied principle course. So to just read the text alone is not what the course in any way recommends. It's to do the workbook study. In that, the text is a wonderful accompaniment and it gives context, it gives deepening. But the thing that the author has told us is that really I would say there's only 2 things we need to know. One, the instruction of this is only do 1 lesson a day. No crash courses here where you're, type A personality and let's do, 10 a day and get through this quickly, which my stepfather Whit first did. And my mother, I remember looking at him upon meeting and hearing that. Her first thoughts were, oh, he still has a lot to learn. So not recommended to do many in one day, only 1. And the other is the chronological order of doing the course is very important. I am not like that. I am a rebel and I would open it up and read a lesson in the middle for a moment and go, oh, okay, that was good. Not recommended for real reasons. This is a course that is very grounded. It's psychotherapeutic. And it really works on the mind and the different levels of the mind and how the mind has learned and how the mind needs to be rewired and re-taught what is real, our state of love. And our ego has taken so much on, even just from emotional, physical signals, that we have been programmed to believe all sorts of things, particularly that this world of illusion is our reality, and our states go according to our states of mind or perceptions. So one of my favorite lines in the course is perception is a mirror, not a fact. So to see that, to accept that premise from the very beginning, what we need to use the workbook for, what it's been given to us for, is to start to unlearn that which we have learned in our minds. And so to start with the first lesson, nothing I see means anything, is a beautiful way to start disrupting our worlds. And doing, because it's fine to say, that table doesn't mean anything. I can accept that. Or, even that book, or, this house. And then I get to this hand doesn't mean anything. Is that true? Really? It certainly means something to me. I'd rather not live without it. Or my son doesn't mean anything. The deeper one gets to neutralizing, which is what the course asks of us in a certain way, all of these thoughts, is what our work is about. Now, excuse me, I don't know if you can hear the whining, crazy noises in the background, but my house right now is under some massive construction, as I feel like I am and our minds are. So if you do hear it, it's just, think of it yet as another disruption for which we choose the course to focus. The other thing about doing this workbook, and it seems that if everyone's shown up here, I would gather that most of us have chosen to do the workbook, but is that it is a gift and an anchor. So for me, already since 5 a.m, I've been having an incredibly challenging day. And I can do my lesson, and within the challenges of the day, if I can remember to do that lesson, what it gives to me is something on several levels. One is the lesson itself, and the theme of it for the day seems to worm its way into whatever I'm doing and seems to be readily applicable. And it could be any lesson, and it's somehow within the course of it being a living document, which I will explain in a moment, adapts to whatever's going on in the day. And I don't know, if your experience has had you suddenly hear a word for the first time and then everyone's using it. It just fits in. So in the lessons, what happens for me when I remember to do them is that they really remind me and give me the anchor that I have a choice. I have a choice every moment throughout the day to choose peace instead of disruption, and to choose love instead of fear. And it's amazing how much, no matter how deep my practice keeps going, I forget this choice throughout the day in a place where I'm undisciplined. So the course and these workbook lessons offer a discipline, and a discipline like exercise, like any exercise one would do. You get stronger and stronger, and it's less difficult to do certain ones, and then the bar keeps changing. It gets, you get to a deeper level and a deeper way of even toning your muscles if you're muscle building. So that's what's being offered here, is this discipline and a way throughout the day to remember But the thing I was saying about the chronological order of the course is important because it deals with us as kind of as children, and very few children go from, being on their back to walking immediately. There are steps that we go through in order to learn how to get from one level even of consciousness to the next. And what this course was designed to do was to take our actual psychology of awareness and consciousness and start to, as I said before, rewire it and unwire it so that we can be open more to the concepts that come later, or the later concepts, one might feel very unfamiliar to us, but two, we're not ready as containers yet to fully embrace them. And it doesn't mean that we're ready in the first go round of practicing the course, for the first year. First of all, most students on their own do not necessarily go through a lesson a day. It's very, the lesson a day is really a very speed up way of going through the course. For me, sometimes I stay on a lesson for a week or two until I feel ready to move on because I like it or because I don't like it. Like if the lesson bothers me, I will wait and wait until it's like, oh, now I kind of get what that means. Also, before I forget, I want to go back to just explaining what I mean by when I say this course is a living document. It is an extraordinary piece of material that seems to meet us where we are at any given moment. So not only through the lessons, but through the workbook, through the text, through the teacher's manual, you can open it up and a line might have some deep resonance for you or none at all for a particular moment, but you can then look at it, that same line in 3 years, 10 years, and it has a completely different, deeper meaning. Or what didn't resonate with you before suddenly tremendously does. And it meets you wherever your own evolution is within the understanding of us being a true state of love and the things that we block in order to take that in. So in that way, rest assured, you're never, ever at a level you shouldn't be at or that you have to push to be deeper. It teaches us and it unteaches us. And any struggle that one has within it is the work we're supposed to be doing. This is not meant to be a breeze and easy and necessarily fun. If it is, as Kenneth Wapnick said, then you're probably not doing the course. It brings up all sorts of disruptions in what we've agreed is our universe, that we're now disagreeing is our universe. And so it will bring up things you've never even expected with simple thoughts and very deep thoughts or emotions or relationships suddenly that were fine will suddenly seem less fine. It's like, wait, I'm practicing the course. That should be easy and wonderful now because I'm love. Doesn't always work that way. We find out that we're love and that we haven't been, for instance, for one example, receiving love. We've just been giving it in a relationship, or so we've thought. And then we project wildly out at someone else. And this course is about taking true accountability for our own perceptions. The course says we do not need to change the world. The world is going to be the world. We need to change our attitude towards it and our realization within it. And with that, again, that we have a choice on how we want to look at things. Is it through the eyes of love and peace, or is it through ego and a lot of illusions and craziness? And sometimes we really want to choose that other world. And if you're choosing it, don't be hard on yourself. You're choosing it, and just keep handing it over. The last thing I really want to say here is actually may not be at all the last thing I want to say, but is can always ask for help, whether you are practicing the course truly mostly by yourself, or you have a companion that you're doing it with, or a group that you're doing it with. I mean, where it is a self-taught study system, but it's also about relationships. And it says we enter the ark of forgiveness, 2 by 2 here. And so it is about how we perceive our relationships, but be kind to yourself in it, because it's about remembering we are love. And if we're hard on ourselves or we're not doing it well enough, you can ask for help. And when I say that, I don't mean necessarily to your friends who you're doing a group with, or your relationship, which is nice to always to be able to ask for help from other people. But the Holy Spirit was infused in here in this practice to be able to say, I'm having a hard time, please help me and show me how to do this, because I really don't know how. And to get to that place of humility, you're going to actually ironically move quicker in this course than if you think you've gotten it and you know it, and okay, now you're moving it through very quickly. And the other part of it is it will teach you. And there is an innate part of this course that I love the most, which is you do not have to believe in it for it to work. So for instance, my partner who started the workbook lessons with me, he asked, like, okay, what is this about? He didn't know much about it at all. Ironically, I kept it kind of a secret. And when he stepped in, he said, what do I need to know? And I said that you don't need to believe in it for it to work. And he's very much a strong environmental scientist and very practical. And he didn't believe in it, but it started working. And it really completely turned him around because it taught him. And what it shows is truth. So it is disruptive. It was disruptive to his world, and it's always been disruptive to mine, but in that way that we know is the best disruption possible. It's changing our worst enemy, who is ourselves, quite often into our best friends through this anchoring and remembering that we are loved. So with that, happy introduction, happy new year to doing these first lessons and straight through. I am here and readily available if anyone wants to discuss or ask questions about my own experiences, if they're helpful to you. And I am a continued student of this course.
Thank you, Tam. That was a very comprehensive overview of your own practice and of your own views.
Yeah.
Very much appreciated. The question that I often hear people ask me, and I would like to ask it to you, is what do you do when you feel strong resistance, especially the first month of lessons? They seem so nonsensical, especially for first-time students. Like nothing I see in this room means anything. I do not understand anything in this place. My thoughts mean nothing. And so there's resistance. So what do you, can you give advice on what you would do?
Yeah, I can say years and years ago, when I first looked at this material and I knew it wasn't my way, it was my mother's way. I looked at it and it was in a book form and I threw it across the room. Like, no, thanks, put it on a shelf. No, thanks. That's what I did with my resistance at that time. When I entered hearing that I really did need to do this, and it was an internal led direction for me to do this. And I still had resistance. I was doing it round one for my mother as an honoring of what she has brought to the world. So truly, I was told in meditation, it's time to honor what your mother's brought, because for all these years, she has honored everything that you've done. As a writer, she supported you. As a traveler, so it was like, I should be kind and look at what she's brought to the world. So that's how I got into round one. I didn't care whether I was interested or not in what it told me to do. I was just going to do it with her. And that love was transformative, just that I chose to do it with her. So my resistance level was different to the concepts. Also, the concepts for me were very familiar. I'd grown up with them. And so I didn't have resistance to that. But as what I would read, so I can't say from my own personal experience the level of resistance to the actual wording. I can say the resistance that I personally had was to a lot of the Christian terminology, which is not how I was brought up, and or to it being very, all in masculine terminology. There was some resistance there. And my answer is get over it as quickly as you can. Like, what are you doing it for? And if it's to correct certain grammar that wasn't put in properly, or if whatever the reasons were, notice that that resistance itself is what's keeping you from yourself. And you get a choice. Do you want it or don't you? Can you give it up? If you can't give it up, ask for help. And I mean higher help, inner help, greater help. And that's the only thing I found to really work. You can't fight your resistance. Your resistance is your resistance. You can choose to, this is how I see it, to make your ally other than what your usual self is. And so for me, my ally is my choice to choose love. And my other choice is not to. And to remember, okay, which one do I want to choose right now? And if there's 5 days where I'm cranky and excuse me, but I'm feeling bitchy, I used to just choose the bitch and the crank because boy, did I honor her. And now it much, much, much shorter, I can change. And guess what? I feel better. My physical pulse is quieter. My, everything that I'm asking for in order to practice this course in the first place is showing me truth. And so that commitment is what takes care of my resistance, because my resistance is just a lot of thought systems and a lot of untruth, and also can be fun. Like I am a rebel, so I will hold righteously my resistance and go, yeah, I'm separate from my mother's path. I'm separate from this, and this just doesn't feel right, and I'm going to resist it. It doesn't, it's just longer time, more time. And that's what's so beautiful. You get to choose. If you want it to take longer, you can play with your resistance. But truly, if you would like it to work for you, start to learn to let go of that resistance. And it does teach you how. And I would say the biggest thing, if I do have resistance and I'm the type of personality that gets stuck on something, go to the next lesson. Don't stay on that one. Keep moving. For me, I like to work something deep and through and, until I get it right. But if I find myself resisting for more than a couple of weeks, it's like, I'll come. It will bring it another way. Keep going. And you will know also, this course is not for everyone. It is called A Course in Miracles, which means it's one way to get to this truth. And if you find that the resistance is just driving you crazy and it's so disruptive in your life, give yourself a break. Go do something else. If this is right for you, it will weave its way back in. And when I say, it's a difficult course, I don't mean you should be miserable every second in it, or anyone should. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's challenging to choose love instead of our other illusions and drama. But be kind to yourself in it. And so that's what I'd say. If it's too much resistance, give yourself a break. That's loving. More and more, what this course instructs you to do is to listen. And there is a voice that's kind and true in your being, and you will start hopefully if it's your path, you will start to hear that voice more and more clearly than your usual blah, 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 blah voice. And it's more neutral and it's loving. And if you can start to hear that voice more and more, that will teach you what to do with your own resistance, because we all come in with our own personalities. So I could no sooner speak to everyone's resistance. It comes in our own forms, but we each have that inner voice that will teach us and show us the way. So that's the best that I can give.
Well, that's a beautiful answer. What I pick up on it is you say you have to know what it is for, and for you, what it is for, it's love. You want to choose love.
Yeah.
And the other element was what you just with what you ended. So that was just perfect. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Tam. And I'd like to open it to other people who might want to ask Tam a question about
Or
one.
each other.
Sorry.
Or each other, like just
Or each other.
for all of us. Yes.
Would you raise your hand or use the reactions button so that Derek, who is doing the back room, can see who would like to speak? Because I can't, the way I see the screen, I can't tell.
Yeah. And it's somewhat quiet, kind of getting started here. So if somebody feels called to just
All right.
mute themselves, you can also just do that and ask a question if you would like. I'm not seeing any hands at the moment, Johanna.
All right. That's
Okay,
fine.
so-
Well, Tam and I will just continue to talk if you would like to, Tam. I love hearing you speak about the course and about the lessons. It's very inspiring. Thank you.
I'm glad to tell you, if you want to hear it, a little bit more detail of how I came to it, what brought
Absolutely.
me to it, although that's just more story. Or would you like me to talk on a deeper, more specific level of?
Well, yes, with the voice. You were saying with I suppose people who come to the course and do the lessons for the first time, they're inspired by hearing that the promise is that you'll hear a voice. And the workbook ends by saying, from now on, it's up to you and your teacher. And lots of people say, I don't hear a voice. I don't hear a sound, nothing. How do you hear a voice? And so there's lots of discussion about it. And I know that there's various ways to hear inner guidance. Could you say a little more about that, please?
Yeah, I think I might be the worst person I know to ask that question to, because I never didn't hear a voice. Like some people are born knowing how to play the piano incredibly well, and then you can spend your life learning, but you may or may not get to the level of the person who just came in with that special gift. I do not know if it was a special gift given to me, or my mother was so aware herself that she kept that every child has that, and she kept that very much alive. I've been an open in me. I've been with a lot of children who seem completely to have that, but their paths are not to keep that alive. And it doesn't matter how much the parent, helps keep that alive. So it's not a judgment, but for whatever reason, I have been incredibly fortunate to have a dialogue with this inner voice that I always had, and a relationship to it. So, as a little girl, I remember my mom, every night before I went to bed, I would have a conversation with this being that was kind of separate than my own ego. And my mother would listen outside the door, and I talk about the whole day that I had and report it. And my mother came in and said, who are you talking to? And I said, my friend. And she said, well, who's your little imaginary friend? And I said, not imaginary. And so is your friend teeny? And I said, no. And is your friend, she started asking the question, is your friend bigger than a bread box? I said, yes. And she said, how big is your friend? And I said, oh, so big, bigger than the whole world, but in everything you see. And I remember my mother having this look on her face of, huh, okay, how nice, dear. And then backing out of the room. And I was kind of surprised. Doesn't she talk to her friend? And that friend, that being has never stopped being there. So I could ask it questions. What got hard for me is that I started to have a lot of dreams that came true. And the dreams that came true, they were prophetic dreams, but they were very real. And a lot of them were about things that I didn't want to be seeing as a little girl, accidents, people getting hurt. And I would do everything I could to change what the dream I had, to try and help, to warn people. Like, certainly as a little girl, when I say that's just about to happen, the first response is, honey, you were just dreaming. It's just a dream. And I would say, no, it's about to happen. And no matter what I did, it was, I don't know if anyone knows about the character Cassandra in Greek mythology, who Apollo fell in love with and gave her the gift of sight. And then she kind of refused his love and he got angry, and gods cannot in Greek mythology take away their gifts. So what he did in anger, Apollo, was he said, okay, well, you have the gift of sight, but no one will ever believe you. So she walks all through Greek mythology saying what's about to happen, like, don't take in the Trojan horse, whatever. And people don't listen to her. And so I had this experience as a little girl of like, that's going to happen. That's going to happen, without true belief. So I kept trying to change it. And in my trying to change it, I couldn't affect change. And so it was a very scary time as a child. And the reason I bring this up in this context is because what it taught me was incredible surrender to that which was going to be. And I realized, like, if it was equivalent to if I didn't just release into it. It was like being told that I had gangrene in my pinky. And if I didn't actually listen and cut it off, I would then have gangrene in the whole arm. So I would listen and cut it off. It would seem like I don't want to, but the instruction was clear. And I needed to know that if I followed that, it would be the best for me in the long run. And it was something that was a huge lesson to learn at a very young age, to listen to this voice, because there are times, and then I became a teenager and I heard this inner voice direct me. I was like, no, I want to do it my way. I want my ego to get to develop. And I would refuse. And I would delight in, I called it like spiritual cutting or something, delight in exerting my own ego that was developing separate from this voice, but this voice was always there. So I never had a problem hearing this voice, agreeing with it, choosing to go along with it. Those were my personal challenges. But I do, at this age, at a younger age, I felt kind of cursed by it. It was almost like, true big brother watching all the time. And in one place, I couldn't really feel lonely, but in another place, it was like, go away. I'm an ego trying to develop here in this world. So very tricky. But to other people, I've certainly been asked this question a lot. And what I can only say is that annoying thing you hear, trust, and, have what the Course says is a little willingness. And I love that, because it's not a complete commitment. It's more like, okay, maybe I believe you, but there's a teeny little hole, that you're looking at through your eyes. A little willingness is all that's necessary to start the process of hearing. And it's the same thing with your ears. Like, I'm really trying to hear, but I don't hear anything. Well, it's like, take one little finger out of your ear, and start. And it's just the willingness to remove just one tiny finger that's blocking, your ear canal, and to trust in your own willingness. And then there's the patience. It sometimes, anything's possible in this reality. So I'm not saying it can't happen instantly with, you know, harps and angels coming in and whatever one's own great drama is, but usually it doesn't happen that way. It takes time, it takes practice, and it takes patience and trust. And you're trusting in something that can feel invisible, especially when you're dealing with physical pain and suffering or emotional pain and suffering. You are trusting in something you do not see. But I can say that as I've seen in my almost 63 years, it does start to show itself. And it can start to show itself in ways that you can't imagine now. It's not necessarily that you suddenly see something different, or that inner listening means you hear a voice with full choir. It's not that at all. It's very subtle. It can be very, very subtle in the beginning, almost like a whisper that you don't believe is it. And as you just keep doing this practice, it does indeed show itself to you. And I am very controversial in this course world because, you know, there is a great school of belief that you cannot bargain with Holy Spirit or anything else. And I am here to say my experience is not that. I make bargains all the time. Like, if you want me to do this, and I know you do, you must make it fun. If it's not fun, you know, I'll torture myself and not do it. And it's absurd. It's absurd, but it's worked for me. It's my own sense of humor. And it's like, I will commit, but I want it to be, you know, through certain conditions that make it fun for me. Even if I have a really difficult time, I don't want to lose my humor about it. And it's not till I lose my humor about something that I realize I've let go of consciousness of choice. So
does that give you the feeling that that voice or that friend that you were talking about, that person or that entity or that energy knows you?
Knows me? Absolutely. It is me. It's almost like in my being, like there was a conscious somehow decision to be an ego, and God damn it, I want to be that ego. And this is, okay, this is an experience that maybe is helpful to this. And I don't need this to be too much about me. We can go back to like actual course principles if you like. But when I was 3 years old, we had something called slinkies, which were these play toys that expanded and contracted, and it was a coil, metal coil. And I was playing with it, la, 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 wrapped it around my leg, what fun, and it got all tangled. And I went into my mother and I told her that my brother did it. I can't tell you that part of it. Why I would say my brother did it instead of me. I was embarrassed that I wrapped a slinky around my leg. And I couldn't lie. I mean, she immediately knew my brother didn't do it. And she put me in my room and punished me. It's like, no, this is a lie and you didn't need to say that. And I remember so clearly leaning against the door and crying and hearing this, you lied. And remember this, you are 3 years old and you lied. And this is what they do here. And this, it was like thrilling, like, wow, I'm here. And it was also terrifying. And it was the first moment I ever experienced conscious separateness of, okay, this is a lie. This existence is a lie, but how do I choose to behave in it? I get a choice. You know, how do I integrate? And I just knew that my life was going to be about integrating so that I can be infused within the lie, the awareness of the truth. And that's kind of the best example I can give of that friend knowing who I am, accepting the mistakes that I make, bringing me back in to a conscious choice to let go of that which I came here to learn. You know, and all the irony of it and the paradox, I would say. I don't know that that makes sense explaining it.
It does make sense, and I suppose that every student will experience a balancing inwardly, that where you have to balance the voice and your egoic drives, so that it makes sense, so you can still survive and yet move towards love. So what you were saying, I think, is people can recognize it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I could give many other examples, but it is, I have not had a big experience of loneliness in a spiritual way, except for a tremendously humbling experience where I had to go on thyroid medication, and the medication drove me crazy. And when I say it drove me crazy, it removed my ability to have a choice. It got me darker and darker and darker. And I was in my 50s, early 50s when I was taking it. And it got me late 40s, but it chemically altered my entire being, where my connection to spirit got compoundedly eradicated until the very near end of it. I was ready to kill myself because there was no connection to spirit at all anymore. And I thought, I'm just dark, and this planet shouldn't have me here as darkness. And truly, it ended up being the wrong medication for me in a very big way. But I was literally saved at the last second. I was literally saved by grace of God for it to be realized that I had to be rescued, taken off this medication immediately. And truly within days, I was like, oh my God, look what happened. But the beauty of the experience was, what opened up in me was this phenomenal compassion for people who have chemical imbalances, where it is so not their fault. I mean, forget even extreme. I'm talking about hormonal shifts in people, you know, where you get overwhelmed and you lose that sense. And it's like, how do people walk without that? Because for me, that is life itself. And I don't have a judgment. I have a compassion to care for that part of our existence, and to give love and energy to those who don't have that connection, who don't. And there's many of us who are walking around fully healthy, who I just completely support. Guess what? You got something in there that you want to find. Here's A Course in Miracles. It's one of the ways. It's fantastic. Give it a try. If it works, it's going to work. If it's your way, it's going to work. And I will say in that, to really trust if it is your way. Like, my mother was deeply looking for spiritual opening, deeply. And she had a whole foundation for parasensory investigation. And she was so interested in consciousness, very much about the mind, psychic and research and all of that. And she was achingly lonely. And she really prayed, and she broke down internally and asked for a path that worked for her. And there was a guru, city yoga guru, Baba Muktananda, coming to town. And through different avenues, she got asked to host an evening for the press with Muktananda. And so she set it all up, and it was very reputable that, you know, she was going to be having the press that she had asked to show up, and different people in the consciousness world, for Baba Muktananda to come. And I remember I was around 13 at the time, and everything needed to be made orange. I didn't understand for the world, but everything in our apartment, like, you had to put orange cloths here and there. And I decided, I'm out of here. Meanwhile, I met him going down, like, outside, going down the elevator, and we looked at each other, and there was a hello. And then he went up, and my mother had one of the worst experiences of her life. He embarrassed her unbelievably, she introduced him. He didn't say a word. But he said such a, like he gave a sentence, and it was a few people got hit by the peacock feathers, and it, individually it was meaningful, but as far as the press and all that, it was not. And she was very embarrassed by the whole evening, and she couldn't understand it. And it got her further into her breakdown of how come, here was this guru that everyone loved, and I couldn't even get my opening here. A few weeks later, she got given the course. And a few months later, the person who connected my mother to Muktananda and advised my mother to have this evening soiree, he was a Muktananda devotee. And Baba turned to him and said, "Oh, I see your friend Judy found her course." Use those words. So if he gave her the littlest flick of his form of enlightenment, whatever one wants to interpret it, this is my story of it, she would have gone on a different path that was not the greater intelligence, Holy Spirit's plan for an individual in this world. She had to bring the course to the world. So again, resonate with yourself to see if the course resonates with you as your practice. If it does, trust. If it doesn't, forgive yourself if you blame yourself and go, "Oh, this isn't for me." And if you don't, just walk away. It'll find its way back to you if it is at a different time of life. But it's that trust comes from, I think, the kind of feeling and inner sense, even if it's teeny, like this is what you want to be doing. And but it never
You're muted, Johanna.
it never asks you to beat your head against the wall. It asks
Exactly. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing those personal stories. They're very illustrative of how these things work, and that the trusting of the voice in self, like you told us with Judy, with the not getting an answer and then keeping on looking until she found her course. Yeah. That's just a wonderful story. Yeah. And I suppose that if people are starting on the course and doing the first few lessons and are puzzled by what's this about, give it a month or give it 2 months and just do the lessons. Would you advise that in order to figure out whether it's your path or not?
I don't ever want to give advice. I want to say, if that's what you want to do it. If you don't. As I say, I so deeply believe at this point in my life that there is an intelligence in how we wake up. And I've been shown so much how many times I am wrong about, whatever there is a site, like a psychic site, but then there is I can tell you that this is a different voice making up stories. And like lately, in the past few weeks, anytime I've said the word definitely, it's definitely not. And it's been funny. So I wouldn't advise anyone anything. Anything you're doing is perfect. And that's part of the knowing. If you stay with it, it's perfect. If you don't stay with it, it's perfect. I am not advising anything except to love yourself. Be kind to yourself. That's it. That's the only advice I would ever choose in this world, is to remember to love yourself and that you are loved, and to offer that, and to, be kind. That's the best advice I could give. All the other stuff is up to anyone's own path.
I think that's wonderful advice. And I think it's being received all around tonight or today. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much.
I love that we don't even know what time zone it is.
Yes, it's different time of day for various people in various places. That's the beauty of it, huh?
Yes, that's the metaphor. It is a different time where we're each individually in our own place and the right time for where we are. And that's where I go back to that innate trust that it's perfect and we're doing fine. and just, keep asking for help.
Keep asking for help. I remember in one of the Zoom sessions where when Judy was still alive, and like you said, she was very eloquent, and she would just, almost like a speech when she was talking. And so she would say, in much better phrasing than I can pull off.
Right.
Like when you're at your wit's end, you don't know what to do, and blah, blah. And then she said, you will have to ask your internal teacher for help. So how do you do that? And then she said, you just say, help. Yes. And that was a totally different voice she was using. And that stayed with me. It was just brilliant. I thought it was brilliant. And I've been doing exactly that.
Yeah, it works. It works. It works. It works. And that other voice that you heard her say, help, that's the person I knew. Most of my life was that person in that other voice, like people knew when she'd come through, and that presence. And I laugh still at this moment, because she passed in October, on October 19th. And when you say when Judy was alive, it's like, oh my God, something happened to her. She's not alive, because she's still so present for me. But I'm starting to get the difference, starting to sink in. But she's so very much here, especially when we talk about these things. I just feel, obviously, the more we connect with that feeling and integrate with that feeling of love, the more we realize there is no death. We're all this one organism, that can come and go in appearance, but not in truth. And
could you repeat that? That's just a wonderful sentence.
That we come and go in appearance, but not in truth. I mean, the way that if someone is dreaming a dream, all the characters can come and go, and oh my God, this character just was alive in my dream, and now it went out and went somewhere else, or to the point of even in a dream where someone dies. But the dreamer is still the one that's just dreaming it there. So it is then there is what's called the waking dream, and the lucid dream, and the two start to integrate. And that's another kind of symbol or metaphor, perhaps, for how we can start doing our practice more and more in a waking dream. It's not that everything just disappears like that. Wait, I will say, I don't believe at the moment, from what I've seen and listened to, that suddenly this world disappears. It might, but basically we seem to be able to use time to get the experience of the happy dream, which doesn't mean that this planet is not at war. It doesn't mean that there's not a fire that burns down our house. It doesn't mean anything, but that our walking through it is aware of our true presence within it. And that changes our relational dynamic within how and where we walk. And that's, again, you can completely wake up to the awareness of love's presence, and you can wake up so much that you can't remember to feed yourself. And then, yeah, you are gone. But while we're in this form right here, we don't, one of my mother's favorite sayings was, don't mix levels. Don't mix levels. And we are here. If you go to someone who just lost a child and said, oh, but it's not real, I hope you get a hit on your head from that person, and they can look at you and go, that's your pain that I just caused a big bump on your head is not real. Deal with it. It's not about that. It's not about that. And, we'll see what it means. I mean, none of us truly will know what it means to die until we die. But it seems to be, as we get more and more, I don't even like to use the word deep in our practice, because that implies that someone who's just beginning isn't deep in their practice, but more and more aware of this presence, that things reveal in a way that's at our own pace and in kindness, you know, and
Exactly.
it's
And it's the practice with, sorry.
I was just gonna say, and it's not, you know, a blast. You know, there are moments of that, but we can also get caught up in those moments. If someone has an awakening experience, I have seen this where someone, and I've had it myself, where the experience is so phenomenal and you feel so full of love and like, oh, I get it. And then you lose it and you keep trying to get it back, that last experience, because that was everything. And now you know what you're really living for, and you're living for the past. And or experience you had in the past. It's the unfolding present. It's this ever present, the anchoring in, like for this particular path, of Course in Miracles, reminding yourself the practice of doing these applied principles and reading the text and seeing deeper and deeper the reminder as it unfolds. Now, for me, reading the text originally was so soporific that I just said it is the best sleeping pill I could ever imagine. Like, give anyone who doesn't want to do the course, hand it to them and say, just read a sentence or two before you go to sleep to fall asleep. You know, it has many uses. It can be functional as all sorts of things, including, I remember my mother used it, the 3, when it was in 3 volumes, to step up to a podium she couldn't reach. You know, you can use this material for anything you want, but if you want to use it for what it was actually given to us for, it is this particular way, as I say over and over again, of a reminder of who we are.
That's actually how you started. You said a reminder and a gift. It's the reminder of the choice that you always have. Choose again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the gift.
Pride. It's like what can I do to wake up? This is one of the things you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if that's your goal, and that's what you're moved to do in this existence.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Tam. We've arrived at the top of the hour, so we need to round off. I would like to thank you so much on behalf of all participants for being here and for talking to us and for showing what the workbook lessons and what Course in Miracles has meant in your life, or give us a small impression of what it has meant. And I would like to thank all participants for being here. We didn't get to talk about lessons 1 through 7. We will do so next week. That doesn't matter. We knew in advance that the chance was there that we weren't going to be talking about 1 through 7. We will talk next week about 1 through 14. So yeah, be on the alert for the announcement for next week. It's the same time, same channel, same link. And we will be doing the live Zoom and the streaming live to the Facebook group on Tuesdays, 11 Pacific. Thank you all. Thank you, Tam, again. And thank you, Derek, in the back room.
Yes, thank you. I hope this was helpful at all. And I would say consider it more the intro than the actual 1 through 7.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.